Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil and Refracted Curvature, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, good to have you all. We're going to do a quick fire session of housekeeping. We're going to try and do all of the questions so that at least once in each week of Flat Earth Debate, we've got a full rendition of all the housekeeping questions. So we'll start with any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
Negative. Next.
Didn't hear the answer. Is that a no?
Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain is evidence of Earth curve. This isn't going to go well, is it? It's going to be a dragging out of a claim. I'm sure I had Pontchartrain. Nobody's admitting to it. It gets like this sometimes.
Yeah, that was me. I was just saying what they normally claim.
Yeah, I've heard Pontchartrain described as a monument to Earth's curvature. There's a couple of problems with the specific Pontchartrain supplied by Soundly, where you've only got claimed curvature at a massive rate, bigger than the actual claimed curvature of Earth when hijacking flat plane measurements and differentials between eye level and surface level to assert that we have a physical geometric sphere edge and a radial value at 3959 miles. The images from Pontchartrain exceed that. In other words, you'd be on a tiny little ball based on the amount of curvature in one axis. So in the other axes, when you're claiming you've got this bridge that's bending into the distance, what about on the other axis, the axis of the horizon? If it's a ball, then it's a ball in all directions, not just on one axis. Secondly, that claim of Earth being a sphere radius 3959 to assert that you'd have some observable curvature relies on, as I've already detailed, measurements of Earth as flat. So to make the assertion in the first instance, to claim that you can parallel it with a photo in a load of crappy swamp air, needs a flat plane in the first instance to make the geometric claim that Earth's a sphere by reification. Hope that deals with Earth curve. Any other evidence of Earth curve, or should we move on? Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? I have to drop in Earth-based, otherwise I'll get all sorts of bicycle wheels. And
if you want to assert the stars appear to be rotating, then you'll need a plane of reference to describe that rotation from. So no, there's no evidence that Earth's turning.
Much of the claim that Earth's sphere is derived from those very measurements also. Go ahead from Discord.
I've had a couple of wines. It feels like it's spinning.
Does it?
That doesn't count, does it?
Does it feel like it's spinning, though?
I've had a few.
Oh, you've had a few. Australians. You're going to tell me you're a Kiwi now, aren't you?
No, I am not a Kiwi. Thank you.
No swearing.
My son told me yesterday that there's opposite star rotation in the south, that they do go from west to east. I told him, I said, you realize what you're saying right now?
Yeah, don't make that mistake. Don't be Planet Peterson. Don't be an idiot.
I told him, how could you have such an understanding of quantum mechanics and the double slit and the delayed choice quantum eraser, and you're going to tell me that you think that stars rotate from west to east?
It depends
What's
who you
going on?
are. How much time has he spent on the equator? Me, a reasonable amount of time. I even honeymooned on the equator. Or were we south of the equator? Anyway, the point is that when I was down there, I
Nice.
still had the same apps on the phone, and I still looked at the stars, and yearned to have the telescope that I've now sold since having kids. And didn't have any of those things, but still looked up at the stars and observed what they did, and looked up on my app what I could see and where I could see it. So if you've got a reasonable grasp of where you are and what direction they're turning, because you're actually looking at them at the moment that you're looking at them, you don't forget that sort of thing. Whereas if you're just, oh, well, what happens south of the equator? I've never been, I don't know. Oh, they go in the opposite direction because we're on a ball. No, they don't. What are you babbling about? But that's the impression people are on because of the crazy delusions of having Earth rotation ascribed to star movement.
That means that the sun and moon would also have to come from east, from east going west. I'm sorry, from west going east, right?
I was going to say,
If the stars are
careful.
going opposite, the sun and moon will have to go opposite.
I get that mixed up too sometimes.
Yeah.
It's no problem. If you got the direction completely wrong, it wouldn't really matter. It's only when you make a claim within that inconsistency that's wrong. For example, chocolate was put in Coriolis effect claims for shortened flight durations, and the assertion suddenly comes that you've got a flight from, let's say it's Los Angeles to Charlotte, that's got a reduced flight time. You go, what? Yeah, that proves they're spinning. And you go, what? Spinning in the other direction? Now, having a visualized conception of how they say the ball spins and what that would do is where we obviously have to have an appreciation to debunk Coriolis effect. But for them, your average globetard, they don't even need to be able to conceptualize this stuff. Earth spins. That's it. That's like the comprehension level required, because everybody knows it spins. Do I need to know how it spins conceptually? No one's going to be challenging you on it. It's the understood rhetoric of the Western world. You don't really need to familiarise yourself with it. Oh, unless you're trying to prove how it ain't happening. And then you're going to be ultra familiar with it. But the people who oppose us are no better than your average globetard. Therefore, someone like Peterson, who thinks he's in opposition to us and oh so smart as he calls us dumb, will get it wrong. Because they haven't spent 10 years conceptualising it. But there we go.
Well, and there's a problem too, because a compass must be level and the needle must point north. So you need a flat plane for that. And longitude and latitude is based on a flat plane measurement. So it's not on a sphere. So the flat latitude, you need a flat Earth for.
Oh dear.
This is great. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
None
Well,
at
in the
all.
conversation, my son did say 93 million miles away, along with their claim that it's a burning ball of plasma. So there you have it.
It's all right. Where does he get his 93 million miles from? Do you know?
An
I
appeal
didn't
to
ask him that. I
consensus.
just shook my head.
Well, he's going to need a flat Earth for that measurement too.
You got it from an appeal to consensus fallacy.
No, he got it from a flat Earth.
Yeah, but Nathan, if I start breaking that down, he's not gonna get it. He's gonna deny it.
When you've got
Then
all
he'll
of these,
deny his own claim.
yeah, he'd have to deny his own claim. Perfect. You can't eradicate where these scholars, priests, have taken the measurements off a flat plane and then described them in a certain way, be it through orbital motion or Earth as a sphere, full stop. Those claims come from flat Earth measurements in the first instance. It doesn't matter which way you dice it, you quite literally have to deny your own claim when we point out the origin of the globe claim. Flat Earth measurements in all instances. Alberini on screen. Why have we got Alberini debunked on screen with him thinking about R? I'll tell you why. Because he's measured the height of the mountain off a flat plane and then derived an R value from the differential between surface level, that's flat, and eye level, that's parallel with flat Earth, to infer that there's a geometric point below surface level, nay, curve of the Earth. Well, he needed a flat plane like everybody needs a flat plane when they assert these stupid nonsense ideas of sphericity based on the priesthood giving you orbital motions after measuring a flat plane. They're getting away from it. So distance to the sun, big no. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
None at all.
What about any scientific evidence of gravity?
If you're going
Don't
to try
start.
to describe gravity as weight, if you're going to try to describe gravity as weight, that's a linear downward vector, not an inward vector. So,
The
even the
Etherites
term
say
gravity,
that.
Oh, you've run past the conclusion.
I did. Sorry.
even the term gravity requires a flat plane.
Absolutely. Go ahead, whoever it was from
I was
Discord.
going to say the Etherites identify gravity as static electricity.
Isn't static electricity static electricity?
That's what I said, but they have two different definitions.
I see. I mean, that's what the people do with gravity. It's a funny coincidence, that. Right, almost 50 people watching. Please share the show. We have got a video to cover today.
Nathan, they're almost there with ether. When they got the proof, they will be back. Sort of like a rumpus type thing.
I argued we were in that boat in the pre-show, didn't I? As flat earthers with beliefs. And you argued that, nah, it wasn't a belief. We just couldn't really fully explain it to other people in such a good way that they would believe you.
That's not what I said.
Having a belief.
That's not what I said. Not what I said. I said you saying you just had a belief is ridiculous because we still had the black swan. We still had gas pressure without containment. That debunks the vacuum of space. The black swan debunks that there's a globe. So to say that you just had a belief, I think is a stretch.
No, I don't think so. Even by your own estimation now, you're saying if someone comes along and tells me that the world is actually the Matrix as a positive claim, and you come along and debunk it by whatever means you debunk it, and then go, well, that tells me where we are and what we are. No, you debunking a positive claim that Earth's a sphere and we have a sky vacuum doesn't leave you in a fundamental understanding that the Earth is measured flat, which is what we're punting through 2024, because that is the position that all claims will start with. You couldn't have said that 2 years ago. I couldn't have said that 2 years ago. And I think there's a handful of people who do admittedly join this panel that could have said that 2 years ago. They'd have just never been heard.
Oh my God! Is the name of it? What's the name of the show? Is this the show? Is it called "What is the Earth versus the Globe" or "Flat Earth Debate"?
Yeah.
That would
So
just be
when you're
begging the
debating
question,
flat Earth and you debunk the globe, you're on a flat Earth.
That's not a true dichotomy, though. You don't know that it is a true dichotomy. You just don't know it's a true dichotomy when you put that to me in past tense.
Forget it. I was never on the ocean. I never went to, it was never flat. Water just is flat. Your pool is flat. Obviously, observably flat. But now we're going to say we just had a belief until this destruction of you're going to need a flat Earth for that comes in because Earth is measured flat. So everything else is just crap then. No, I'm not believing that.
Everything else didn't lead to a flat Earth proof. So every housekeeping question, though, so far, pretty much, I think, has had you're going to need a flat Earth for that tied into the question. Telling me we did that in 2022? We didn't. We didn't.
I'm not saying we did.
In order to prove something that is so fundamentally ingrained in people, that's Earth being a sphere, you have to have something that is super, super strong and really easy to understand. In the case of every single claim that you'll ever make ever will require a flat Earth measurement if you're going to infer the nature of our existence in the universe, regardless if you believe that universe to be a sky vacuum or not, the ground beneath our feet, terra firma, is assumed to be a sphere by the majority of the Western world. So you've got to offer up something really, really, really good to convince them otherwise. You're telling me we haven't, you're trying to convince me we haven't walked the path we've walked, Neil. Now, if we had something that was so strong that people could listen to the show 3 years ago and go, oh, I don't need anything else. I appreciate how the world operates. And I also, further to that, appreciate that when someone offers me up a claim, I can do a bit of digging and find where the flat earth was measured to get there. Once you've got that established, that will achieve the ends that I think you personally, which is why I'm having this conversation with you, Neil, wanted and have yearned for years on this show. When will people start waking up? When you start telling them that their proof took a flat earth to make it, that's when they'll start waking up. You said earlier, there's no putting that to my son. And John replied, he'll have to deny his own claim. You show someone the origins of their measurement when they assert Earth's a sphere, what do? Accept that measurement that they've just used, if it's by way of an R value, measured off a flat plane by either Al-Biruni or minimum elevation angle measurements to Polaris, that's where they're going to get their starting point for their measurement. Previously, we've said you've just begged the question of R. No, they haven't. They had to have it back engineer into all the maps. So it had to work. When QE was telling us, no, it's set in stone. It's not. It's set in stone because they require it to back engineer into the physical reality that's measured flat. That R value that's measured circular in nature as a minimum to Polaris. It's not the outside edge of a sphere, but we can turn it into one. The priesthood, that is. Again, once you show them how they took flat plane measurements and turned them spherical, how are they going to deny the very origin of their claim? They can't. Now, there's nothing I could have said in previous years that could have let an audience member, as they are now, 55 people watching, please share the show, realise that Earth is flat with 2 minutes of fairly concise descriptions of how the world functions in all instances. I therefore declare that prior to now, if you can't convert somebody on the spot to the point where they're either left in cognitive dissonance or accepting that their own claim requires Earth to be measured flat, then all you have to offer that person is a belief. Because they can still, it doesn't matter if you say, well, they just have to have cognitive dissonance. If they can still accept sphericity of Earth with their claim that they offered, even if you debunked it, then you're not doing something right. If you take their claim and go, keep your claim, it needed a flat Earth in the first instance, here's how. Here's how the celestial sphere's made. Here's how the dome of the heavens has the territory mapped by way of a grid with latitude and longitude. That's been placed onto a sphere and then projected onto a tube to then be rolled out flat again. Here's the Mercator projection. There's your history of the measurements to give you what you think is a ball that never operates that way. You're always dealing with flat maps. Oh, what's that? You can tell me in years gone by it's a globe projection. Yeah, it is. And what about the latitude and longitude grid that's been wrapped around that ball? How was that measured to give you the ball? Oh, it was measured on a flat plane. So we've gone from measuring a flat plane to taking those measurements and wrapping them around a ball to projecting that ball onto a tube and rolling it out flat. Okay? That's why none of the maps would quote unquote work properly when you're all telling us that they're globe projections, but they're flat maps with a flat grid with circles being drawn on them. Because that's how the world actually operates. So you've got to go through this do-si-do rigmarole of converting things from flat to globe to back to flat again. And if you can explain that to an opponent who's just claimed that, no, the Mercator projection, for example, comes from a globe. It's a globe projection. And you say, yeah, and that globe came from a flat Earth measurement in physical reality off a flat plane. What are they going to do?
It's one of the reasons that ballers used to laugh at flat earthers when they would claim, what was that, Gleason's map? They would laugh at them because Gleason's map is a projection of a globe.
Okay, hold on, John. Hold on. You said the black swan. Once you stumbled across the black swan, it changed your whole way of thinking.
Because I thought I had two contradictory measurements, and that one of them was showing me a measurement of Earth curve, and then the rest of them were, measurements of a plane. So it was appeared to be flat, but wasn't.
That's Weasley. I'm sorry.
What do you want?
No freaking way.
What do you want? If you ask him to project himself back prior to being a flat earther, what do you want? Do you want him to get on bended knee for how he understood it to not be appearing curved, but it isn't because it is curved? That's how you process it if you're a normie.
Hold on. I'm not fighting against what you're saying. I'm just saying you can't just rule out everything else.
Who put Neil in this position where he's suddenly the grand poobah of knowing Earth's flat?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying you're throwing everything else out, saying that you just had a belief, when I don't think that's being honest. You did not just have a belief. You knew the Earth is flat. All right, finding the silver bullet took a little time, but now that we got it, you can't just discard everything else.
Not discarding anything. I'm streamlining things. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of this presupposed spherical Earth? We all know damn well it isn't.
I like the way you phrased that one.
Well, the idea of self-perpetuating would contradict the second law of thermodynamics.
Does it? Even in their time scale, if they've got... I appreciate the preposterousness of me supposing this, but from my understanding of their backstory with Thea, it is actually cooling down. The oversized molten iron core that was deposited by a planetary explosion in a heliocentric model derived from flat plane measurements would infer, by way of a story and reification, that another planet has deposited a bigger core that's slowly cooling. Therefore, it still fits in their timeline at 93 million mile distances and Big Bang ideas of how the world expanded. But in that particular model, Earth would have died off by now, as in the core would have cooled. Unless Thea smashed into us and deposited its juicy, delicious molten iron core inside ours and formed the moon with its debris. Therefore, the entropic process of cooling is still kind of accounted for in the story as I understood it, even though, as disclaimed, it's a reification beyond the measurement of a flat plane of a celestial sphere, then reified into globe model, then projected flat for mapping, and so on and so forth, John. But it does seem like they have incorporated a bit of entropy into that, even though the whole system defies the second law. No? Powerful silence. Maybe it's because he's disappeared. He's obviously had a connection problem. Right, well, we'll find more out from John when he returns, hopefully. Let's move on. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
No, that's an impossibility. How are you going to do that?
You can't. That guy yesterday that we were covering from Practical Navigator was alluding to this notion by saying that we've got curved angles with right angles in them. Out to Uncool Ben. FED team. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. God bless you all. And then a kissy smiley face. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm sure it's a film quote, right? Or it's a famous politician or something along those lines. Nixon or something. I don't know. Maybe someone from the chat will let me know. Have we missed any housekeeping question? Oh, yes, we have. A very important one that Neil leans on for a flat earth proof. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
That's misrepresenting me. That's not what I said. I said that destroys the fact that it's a globe. And no, you can't have gas pressure without containment.
What do you make of this, Adam? I'm being attacked because apparently when I suggest that it was merely a belief we had in flat Earth until we could demonstrate that it's measured that way in all instances, Neil saying, not so. It wasn't a belief back then. It just wasn't sufficient to convince anybody who opposed us. What we had up until then.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Churchill.
Churchill, I think. Yeah. I would take the Black Swan as a good example of supporting you.
Thank you.
Supporting
That's exactly
me.
what I-
not you.
No, supporting me.
No.
Well, you're out of here then, Nate. Get out of here, Adam.
Because when it was first cited, I used to go, no, it's not a flat earth proof. It's proof, yeah, that the mathematics they're describing and what they're claiming is false, which is why we went to calculate that if you are still going to reify the horizon as the leading edge of your ball, it makes your ball this big. So it's a ball destroyer, the Black Swan. It's not a flat earth proof. You can apply logical inference and laugh at how big the ball would have to be and how that in of itself destroys the heliocentric model. But to me, it's not a direct flat earth proof. It's a great ball destroyer.
2 steps it took. I remember doing it. I remember saying, okay, well, make it a flat earth proof. And there was one inference and something else. There was 2 steps that you had to take to turn it into a flat earth proof. You're like, right, so it's not directly provable, but by inference, you can then give your extrapolation of what the Black Swan destroying the globe would infer. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not going to stand in your way if there's certain things that... I've even said this to QE in the past, right? When there were certain things that he was saying, this is a flat earth proof, and I'm like, meh, I don't like it. And he's like, what's wrong with it? I'm like, I don't like it. Well, it doesn't change that it's proving flat earth, would be the response from QE. I'm like, okay, but I don't like it. It's not for me. You know, it's not something I'm prepared to die on a hill for. When it comes to pencil beam lasers from gunships, I'm like, it's very interesting. It was very useful really early on in my journey to have somebody seemingly in authority running a very expensive piece of equipment and showing how it functions, and Earth being flat would be required for it to work. So yeah, very, very good. And I'm not going to stand in the way of anybody who does stand by that and go, that is my flat earth proof. It proves Earth's flat. But I just didn't like it. Not that I was saying
But
it's
that's
bad.
not what I said.
When I say don't like it,
What I said...
don't misconstrue what I mean when I say don't like it. I'm not saying I don't like it because I think it's wrong. That's not what I mean either. Just want to get that clear.
Adam, that's not what I said either. I said you can't just discard everything else and say you were still holding on to a belief. We had a lot of stuff.
I had other things that proved it to me. So when I did my accelerometer data on a flight, making the statements back then that all the downs were parallel to each other. I didn't know how pertinent that would be now when we go into celestial navigation, etc., but that was a point then. That was a proof then. I proved it to myself, and to others with the data there. There's only one way those results could be, and that means all the downs are parallel. So I had proofs, flight. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. And Brian's got his proofs with flight. I'd agree with Nathan on the Seahawk Sparrow. It's not in the realms of your normal person's experience. So it can be just it's a military thing, I'm sure that, you know what I mean? It doesn't prove it to, but aeroplanes do. Pretty much everybody's been on an aeroplane.
Yeah, but you're taking the data points. My objection is it's not renowned. What you're doing as an individual is too much at the other end of the extreme for me. In other words, no offense to you, Adam, but you're but one man. And I'm not saying you're wrong or that what you're presenting in terms of those data points that could be validated by someone else incorrect either. When I say I don't like it, it would be the same if Jaron was successful with his quote-unquote experiment, right? If it was successful, I'd still go, yeah, for the same reasons as the sea sparrow or you, right? The sea sparrow is the other end of the extreme, by the way. It's so beyond my reach to ever even dream of being at that button operating it and seeing it function when it blows another boat up over what would be an Earth curve obstruction. You know what I mean? That isn't going to happen. But by the same token, yeah, I could go on a plane and get my data set to show that they're all perpendicular zeniths, or however you described it, parallel zeniths. Well, I can't remember the term you used. What was the term you used? Just so it's your words, not mine.
All the downs were parallel.
All the downs are parallel. Yeah, that's correct. But mapping is a nice balance between you can operate this and function with this tool to save your life if you're trained on how to use it. And in so doing, as a mere mortal, you can appreciate that the only way it could function is flat. And in order to have it, it doesn't matter if all those lines that we got from Polaris are distorted to all hell, so long as the system with that grid remains referenceable in some form, you can stagger your way through all the distorted maps because of the globe bullshit that's been inserted when they project them onto tubes. But my point is that so long as you can appreciate how it's functioning as a layman, you immediately have a wider understanding of how that map must function as a whole, and does for everybody else. So, like when you say, well, I could go to China, I don't have to. I have been to China, but I can't think of somewhere else off the top of my head I haven't been. Brazil. I could go to Brazil, but I haven't, and, you know, therefore I can just infer that it is there. Well, when you come to mapping and navigation, it's similar to the guy who hasn't been to Brazil or the guy who hasn't been to China. You know China's there. There's plenty of evidence to suggest it's there and how it's operating and what's going on there. You might not know the ins and outs of their political system, and what you do know is probably propagandized, but you're pretty sure China exists, right? Well, in the same way, when you know how a map works and how it's functioning, even if I roll out a Chinese map for you, you're going to go, yeah, I'm pretty sure that all of this topographical details with the isobars or whatever they call them going up to show the heights of the mountains with respect to a horizontal plane of reference is how it works. And the way and reason for it working that way is because of the way it's going to function with the stars that are above us, plotted and mapped and measured off a flat plane. So that kind of good level of understanding and mapping strikes that balance between you could do it, find out that all downs are parallel on a plane with your own data points, versus you could be on a warship firing a pencil beam at something over the horizon. It isn't over the horizon, but you'll never get to verify this. Mapping's that perfect. It covers the whole world, because that's what it is. It's mapping. And there's no isolated circumstance where one part of the world's going to work differently to another in terms of how sea level works, for example. And it's all nice and general and universally accepted and worldwide covering. So for me, this is the proof, because it's directly related to the world when you talk about navigation and mapping. Flying over one journey and gathering your data points, or referencing what a warship does in respect to the horizon, or debunking what the globe says the horizon does, but it doesn't with the black swan, none of those were up to what I consider to be my standard. Now, it's not like I've got super high standards or anything. It's just when I go, yeah, what would you offer if you're going to give me your elevator pitch on Earth being flat? Well, it's measured that way. That's why all the maps are flat. They've all been mapped with the stars off a flat plane. That's how Earth's been measured. If you're going to utilise the tool of mapping, you'll be plotting it flat as well with circles. Ding! See you later. Earth's measured flat. That'd be my elevator pitch done because of a good understanding of mapping. Now try and explain that in an elevator pitch to me with the Sea Sparrow missile or your flight without me being able to get out the elevator and go, it's just some dude. How do I know his all down to parallel thing actually even makes any sense? I didn't even really understand it. But I was taught how map works in geography. Go on.
Adam, can you? I gotta be an idiot. What does that mean? I don't understand.
What, all downs are parallel?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I can't.
Ding! Floor 7. Thank you for travelling elevators.
If you look at what Nathan's claiming, he's saying it's mapped, measured, and navigated flat. Well, that's kind of what I was showing there. I was measuring it flat, demonstrating how the flat plane traversed, how the plane traversed the flat plane, yeah, and demonstrated that with measurement. That's what that did. We kind of linked that one. I understand the point. it's a lot more referenceable. The other one I'd look at that to me was a great proof was all the laser tests over certain miles. You know, all you've got to convince somebody there is, do lasers go in straight lines?
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination
Yeah, but
of all of
Nathan,
it.
you flew on a plane, right?
Adam's confirmation of all parallel down on his plane with his accelerometer reference points, all measured by him, lines up with, in other words, he did it already, right, Adam? Well, that ties in with how all zeniths are parallel in celestial navigation. But that's on so much of a grand and applicable or usable scale by any layman that what you have done then bolsters what I'm calling a silver bullet. Doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wouldn't agree with Neil, though. I would have said I can prove it to you back then. I was happy. I had proofs. I've not been believing for a long time.
That's my only point.
Now, the only thing is, you know, that proving it to yourself is sufficient for me. Am I able to prove it to other people sufficient to their standards? And I think that's what Nathan's saying. He's now got something he's actually happy to argue.
And I agree with that. I agree. My question is, what took us so long to figure out everything was coming from a flat plane? When I hear it said, I was like, how did that get past everybody?
Yeah, it's a good question. Very good question. I think it's just the path that we were led along. You know, a lot of people that we were in discussions with about the nature of Earth have now gone off on La La Land quests for Tartaria and Ether and whatever else, Bitcoin, you name it. They've all segued off onto various different paths before they've got to what I am now describing in a very black and white manner as being the proof that they didn't have up until then. So most of them are of the attitude, yeah, I do know it's flat, but, you know, I wouldn't really want to get into an argument with you about it because that's very depressing. As opposed to, yeah, it's flat. It's measured that way. Did we cover all the housekeeping questions? We did gas pressure without a container, did we not?
Most of the starts on.
Yes, we did.
Oakley dokley. Well, we do actually have a video that we're going to cover today. Let's see if I can find it. I think I've made it too small. Have I got rid of it accidentally? Oh, there it is. Okay, so not exactly sure how I get to the videographer's name. Danny Draws is the name of this videographer, and it's a fairly short video and very similar in vein to what we did yesterday. So, as is always the case, I'm going to give you a share link to this videographer, so you can go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a view to hopefully getting a response with a link to our video. So let's just bring up the chat so you can see what I'm doing in the live stream chat. We are obviously live now, and can't really make that make sense if you're watching a recording, but nevertheless, we are live now, and you can go and click on that link. You can see it in the live stream chat whizzing its way by now, and I would appreciate it if you did actually do this. So yesterday's show, although it's always the way, when I think the show's been fantastic, it gets lower numbers than I would have hoped for when appealing to absolutely everybody to share yesterday's show. Nevertheless, that's just the way it goes. You got a 3-for-1 in yesterday's show. Today, we're definitely not going to do that. But yeah, please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully, that's given you enough time to actually do it, and we'll get into it, and we'll get some ideas from Discord and G+ about what they feel about the state of this extremely popular video.
Who's this from? Who's recommended it? Sorry.
Task Force X.
Okay, well, that's all gone horribly wrong. Let's just load it up again.
Is the Earth flat? No, it's not. But why is there still people in 2023 who believe that the Earth is actually flat? And why? The greatest puzzle game in the world?
Why does that keep happening when I try and pause it?
It's because it's a short, isn't it?
It doesn't like me pausing it. Hey, my apologies to you in the audience who are trying to figure out why I can't pause this video. I'll give it a third bash. If I fail miserably, we'll just have to listen to it all the way through, perhaps.
Is the Earth flat? No, it's not. But why is there still people in 2023 who believe that the Earth is actually flat? And why are there thousands of them? Let me listen.
There, it's that pause button at the top. Okay, so the first thing I was going to cover is him describing it as a belief immediately. So in answer to whoever asked that question, why is it that we're in this state of affairs now, is because it's peddled as a belief. Now, it's because I believe that that's projection. Why would it be that we have to fight in false dichotomy with our belief in a flat earth versus their belief in a sphere? And they even phrase it that way. So at some subconscious level, people appreciate that the globe is a belief, and then it seems reasonable to stack it up in false dichotomy when they get to this subject matter. Why are there thousands of people that appreciate it? Because that's the way the world is presented to everybody. So at some level, there's going to be an appreciation of it, even if the arguments that thus far have been presented for it haven't been the greatest of arguments. There is going to be a deep understanding at a fundamental level ingrained in everybody when they just appreciate how the world presents itself to them. They in no way have any inference that Earth has sphericity to it, beyond measurements that are taken from a flat plane and then used by clever priests to make you believe that you can reify that flat plane measurement into a sphere, which you can't. But that also is a belief. Your globe belief, that is.
Off some of their beliefs, and you can be the judge on whether or not this is crazy. One,
Here we're going to now assess a few straw men that will be put out into the feast of nonsense that this guy believes are our beliefs.
they believe that any astronauts who go to space are either visually confused by the atmosphere, that the government
We believe that astronauts that go up to space are visually confused by the atmosphere. Right, let's just pull that apart.
I don't think so, do you?
Go ahead,
No,
then.
they're just liars.
One more time.
No, they're just liars. That's what I would say about an astronaut now. Anybody that claims they've gone to space, second law of thermodynamics violation, to me is a liar. It's not something you cast at everyone at NASA, but those that claim they've been there are clearly lying.
I completely agree. There's very few people we can actually categorize as liars. People who say they've been in a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation, outer space is fake, they're liars. Now, as for why flat earthers would be assumed by this animator to think that astronauts in a sky vacuum violation of natural law would have trouble with the atmosphere, atmosphere is an oxymoron. That is to say, atmo is air. That's a mixture of gases. Gases take the shape of their containment in all instances. The pressure they develop is the force exerted on the walls of said container. Now, to have this diagram with its crude animation style is to very starkly show the problem, because he's got a black line around air that is unbonded. That is to say, it is free to move in all directions. Now, if this black line the animator has put for the atmosphere oxymoron was a container, then the earth beneath could have pressure, which is to say the gas is produced at ground level, or in the case of water vapor, at sea level, and then goes up, defying gravity, but we won't get into that for this description. Upon defying gravity and going up, it could press on the walls of the container and maintain pressure. Now, in reality, there is no barrier in the heliocentric model for the gas at pressure that we are definitely breathing. We do definitely have gas at pressure. But this crumpled artistic area with stars would be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, an area of volume vast in nature that the gas we breathe would fill instantaneously, in line with entropic law, second law of thermodynamics. So this oversimplification of a second law of thermodynamics violation isn't something we assert that men who lie about being in said second law of thermodynamics violation have an issue with. This is a poor straw man. Nobody's asserting that liars in space have a problem with the atmosphere oxymoron.
government pays them off, or that they get
Pays the mob? Sorry, what? In all my days, I don't recall any flat earther making mob associations to the globe. Can anybody?
Yeah, Neil. I mean, he's on the panel right now.
Okay, that is awkward.
Did he say mob or did he said pays them off?
Maybe you're more American than I. Maybe I just misheard him. I daren't rewind it. Let's continue.
Secretly intoxicated while going to space. Although
So flat earthers say that liars in velcroed together spacesuits in a second law of thermodynamics violation are drunk. No, Buzz Aldrin is a drunk. He's also a liar who claimed to have gone to the moon via a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 tour, that the gas he traversed to get there didn't disperse into. Total nonsense. But what's that? We say they're drunks. No, Buzz Aldrin is a drunk.
I doubt NASA would encourage somebody to drunk drive a spaceship.
Nobody's driving to space in any ship. Ships that go to useful places and find land move along the ocean in past historic data. As for finding soil in the sky by way of a second law of thermodynamics violation journey, that's never going to happen. You've been misled.
But whatever. See, flat Earth.
Did anybody want to add anything? I'm just sort of stealing all of the points here. If anybody's got something they want to add to any of those points thus far before we continue, feel free. Or a general reply to the notions of how flat Earth's being presented.
Yeah, I can't believe that in 2024 they're still talking about this and they're bringing it to us. This is ridiculous.
Bringing what, Neil?
I think
I say I've got to defend the fact that I think astronauts are drunk when they go to space, which is why they think they go to space. It's not even a coherent straw man.
True.
This is one of the more popular videos that I found while searching, you know.
There's only believe in what they see, even though there's...
Is he putting that at our door? Flat earthers don't believe what they see. Or is he suggesting we say the globers don't believe what they see? Because I know what he's about to reference. He's about to reference the horizon.
Evidence of a round Earth just by looking at the horizon.
Okie dokie. Adam, do you want to take this one?
Well, I'm assuming now. I don't know which way he's going to go. He's obviously going to reference it. Is he referencing it for? Let's have a little look. So I can't actually see the screen, even though there's evidence of a round Earth, just by looking at the horizon. So he is going to reify the horizon into the leading edge of a ball. That's his number one proof, by the sounds of things, of why it's a ball. So the black swan.
He's gonna reify that horizontal is the effect coming from a ball. Okay.
My main issue is he's got it from a plane at altitude. So this is wrong on so many levels, because even by their own claims, you can't see left to right Earth curvature from the altitude that a plane would give you. Furthermore, the very definition of a horizon and what it is practically applied in this very aircraft defies the notion of it actually having any curvature to it. You're utilising it to establish a horizontal plane to level the aircraft with. Level. That's not curving. But you're going to use the same horizon that the pilot's levelling the aircraft with to say that it's got a curve, when the very rhetoric of heliocentrism defies the nature of the horizon as being curved from a commercial airline pilot's height. Just doesn't understand his own rhetoric.
That's what they want to do. They want to, and I'm going to keep drilling. So you're telling me that is Earth curve. Happy. Let's move forward with the black swan.
Yeah. If Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon, you know, this bit this giant hand's pointing at, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in Earth curve maths. The distance to the horizon in the black swan image unlike this horizon, has something that can demarcate distance to that horizon. That is to say, the Black Swan image has got 2 oil rigs that are fixed. Now, at a 1 foot observer height, you've got a 1.2 mile physical obstruction called Earth Curve that is claimed by Earth Curve mathematics, as detailed a moment ago, to block your view of the oil rigs. Now, that claimed to be physical obstruction based on the assumption measured from flat plane that Earth's a sphere is demonstrably beyond 10 miles where it's marked with fixed locations in the form of these oil rigs. So instead of it being at 1.2 miles and blocking the oil rigs, the hill, Earth Curve, has got up and walked 15 miles beyond where it's supposed to be blocking. Now, yesterday we had an example of somebody saying a hill would be, I think it was Planet Peterson in his video, was saying, Earth Curve's like a bridge. And I said, okay, imagine a bridge where you approach it and you can't see past the crest of the bridge, but beyond the crest of the bridge, there's a fire hydrant. Yeah? Well, the example of the Black Swan, by equivalence to Earth Curve being the bridge, would be that you walk up to a certain point and you can never see the fire hydrant because the bridge is blocking it. But then one day, you get to that same point, and the bridge is beyond the fire hydrant. Behind it. Because that's what we're showing in the Black Swan. Now, the fact that physical hills don't get up and move beyond the things they're blocking debunks the assertion that we've got a physical hill in the form of Earth Curve to block anything ever. Now, this image, wishy-washy nonsense that it is, doesn't give us any of that. Doesn't show us anything to do with the horizon. It's just a picture of the horizon from an aeroplane that functionally uses that same tool to level the aircraft. We have debunked the mathematical assertion that could be made, and isn't by this videographer, that this is a geometric limitation to your view. And based on it being a geometric limitation to your view, it's asserted to have curvature in his curved lens at distance. Okay, well then it would have geometric limitations if it's a hill blocking your view. And we've debunked them.
Therefore, Earth is flat.
They're not therefore Earth's not flat. Therefore, Earth's not a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles with a physical geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in their Earth Curve mathematics. That's what it debunks. You can want it to prove a flat Earth all you like, Neil. It doesn't.
Name of the show is Flat Earth Debate.
Yeah?
Not Triangular Debate, not Rectangular Debate, Flat Earth Debate. When we've debunked the sphere, flat Earth. It's obviously observably flat. You said it millions of times.
Hey, there's also people who come and argue we're a brain in a jar. I tried to make this argument earlier. Someone comes along and argues we're a brain in a jar, aka Matrix. You disprove their assertion. And that proves it's flat. No. Making a positive claim and having it fail to pad out or be disproven by logical inference or any other means doesn't prove any contrapositive whatsoever. It just debunks the initial positive claim. If your initial positive claim is Earth is a sphere, and you can show that the limitations and parameters of said sphere, 3959 miles radius, doesn't work, that hills that should get in your way by limitations of said geometry are beyond, way beyond any physical inference you could ever make about a horizon, then that simply debunks the original positive assertion, Neil. Doesn't prove it's flat. You can take the horizon what it's used for, like I did with the guy in the cockpit, can't you? That's an inference after the fact, though. And then say how something ancillary to his claim that the horizon bends is being utilised in practical application by the pilot. But that's ancillary to the Black Swan, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah, but you're missing what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. Tell me what you're saying and I'll disagree with it if it's wrong or right, or not disagree if it's right. Just disagree if it's wrong. Go ahead. If I don't understand, fill me in.
You have over 1,000 shows where we are saying Earth is flat. You can't just discard them all. Yes,
not.
I believe the silver bullet we got is the measurement. Yes, but once the black swan came out and it annihilated the globe, there's no radius. It's flat. What else? I don't know what else I could tell you.
Neil's saying if you only have two choices, globe or flat, black swan disproves the globe, Earth is flat. Correct?
Something like that, but there's other things. I mean,
Yeah,
we
if you
just
see
didn't
the
have.
globe or
You can't say
flat,
we just had a belief. I didn't just have a belief. Now I appreciate
yeah, the
what
moment,
we have
the
now.
the moment you use the tool level, man, and the moment you understand it, what it stands for, what it means, it's not a belief after that.
Mic check. Good morning, guys.
Hello, Chocolate.
What else is funny is how multiple flat earthers have tried to prove the
Tried to prove the what?
government wrong, and then they
Tried to prove the government wrong. I don't know. I can't really speak for all flat earthers in this stereotype. Do we generally address how wrong the government is?
We don't, but other people do.
What are people specifically in the flat earth community suggesting is wrong in the government that would get a fairly large-ish YouTuber to imply it by stereotyping fallacy? What are we
You can't
doing?
trust the government. The government lies. They lie about everything. This is all from the Feast of Nonsense.
Anybody else? I don't really know.
The only thing I can think is NASA, because it's American. So that would be a government department. That would be that.
Okay, I mean, I'll grant him that. A lot of people
Personally, I
go
think
hoax
that's the
hunting
silliest-
and anomaly hunting in NASA footage. So yeah, okay, fine.
But honestly, that's the silliest stereotyping fallacy ever. Because there are how many people who think they live on a globe that don't believe the government for anything?
That's kind of
Except
why I
maybe
said
that
it.
they live
Yeah,
on a globe.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous. So
Not
that as
believing
flat
your
earthers
government is
would know-
standard fare, isn't it, for most normies? If you don't trust the government generally, as in any government, and you're in any way politicized, then you'll be into the, is it Hegelian dialectic? You'll be opposing the left or opposing the right, right? You're well and truly into opposing something about government, even if it's only the 50% opposing side. So this is garbage. I mean, just I don't see how this connects to a stereotype for flat earthers. And this is just appealing to the consensus by saying these crazy flat earthers just don't trust any government structure, whereas you just don't trust the right, or you just don't trust the left, right? You know what I mean? It's like, this is crap.
Well, we've discussed this before as their position on trust. So that's the basket that you throw us in. Oh, you guys just don't trust anything that we trust. Because again, according to the article, it's not about evidence, not about arguments. It's about trust. So yeah, that's
Poisoning the well on steroids.
One more time, Billy Philly.
I said it's poisoning the well on steroids, this guy.
Yes,
What's
just
that,
like the other
Billy
guys.
Philly?
It's one massive giant stereotype sandwich, as Adam called the other guy last time, right?
they just end up proving themselves wrong instead. Honestly.
Baseless assertion. Proving ourselves about what? After declaring that we say governments are wrong, and you're going to have a giant star-spangled banner sticking out of the White House in your animation. So what? Praise government. Praise Big Brother.
Just why would the government care enough to lie about what shaped the
To govern you. Why the hell do you think? Is this for real? Why would the government want to keep you under control when that's their primary purpose? Do some people not understand what government is?
Currently, my government is doing stupid things like trying to regulate what kind of cars you drive and what kind of stove you have in your house. So to say, why would they care about what the shape of the world is? It's like, you might want to actually take a look around, buddy.
It just seems like at a fundamental level people don't understand what government's for.
planet is. There is literally no point. Tragically,
Okay.
This
Most
has been
flat
going on
earthers are
for a
said-
long time, Nathan. Do you remember when they told you not to use aerosol cans because it'll destroy the ozone layer?
Yeah.
That was right from the government.
There's plenty of examples of government putting out lies. I don't get it. When people have stone cold examples of admitted lies from the government, they won't still want to stereotype flat earthers as not trusting governments, even though in this instance on this platform we barely give it a mention. You know, it's I mean, we're, not to be derogatory in that we used to be there kind of way, but I suspect that most of us are way past that. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm just delusional. I think I'm someplace that everyone around me is that they're not. I don't know. Am I reacting badly to this because of my perceived delusion of the videographer? Or am I on the same channel as everyone else in this discussion?
No, he's just gone left field, hasn't he? Because he can't support his ball. So, and frankly, he doesn't appear to have looked at any of our claims. Maybe he'll address the one that's on screen now. But he's just making straw men up and addressing them and demonstrating. I think as Chocolate said, is there 99% of normal all believers don't trust the government. It's kind of the state of the world today.
In their ways, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. If they think the world is flat, the world is absolutely 0% changed by their beliefs. So if you meet...
Nah, we're not basing any of this on beliefs, though. That's the problem for you. Your belief in a globe has been based on flat Earth measurements. Now, I'm going to stomp this out. We don't have a belief. Further to that, your reified spheres come from a flat Earth in terms of your measurements.
Meet one, side our school system, clap them on...
School system's what's led you to the automatic assumption that you were on a sphere, because you weren't educated well enough to know where those inferences have come from. That would be flat Earth measurements. It's the gall of these people.
...the back and say, you do you. Because we know...
You do you. Who cares what you do? If the Earth's been measured, navigated, mapped, built on, flat, matters not what you believe. You do you. Oh, will. Don't change anything in regards to the nature of our reality now, though, does it? Chocolate.
Isn't it funny how they talk about us having belief, but let them argue long enough, and what will they tell us? Oh, I mean, it's too big. You can't see the curvature. Nope. You have to measure it flat because it's too big. So who's the one again that has a belief? I'm sorry. Correct me again. Thanks.
Yeah, they have mitigation as opposed to proof, don't they? When it gets down to the nitty-gritty, even in the past, when you look past on some of the discussions, you end up arguing with their mitigation most of the time. Earth's so biggy, therefore measured flatty. In years gone by, we would have gone into the no. It's not that it's so big. Here's your radial value and how you say you can see Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Nowadays, 2024 on, so measured flat then. That's it, isn't it? What else needs to be said beyond what's that? You mitigate for the fact that we measure it flat by saying it's just really, really big. I see. Measured flat then. Yes, Nathan. We've all had a massive change of heart in how we will approach this.
We're waiting for you to play.
Oh, I was waiting for a reaction from you guys. I think that's the end of his video.
Obviously, the Earth is just one giant donut.
I wonder where he got that from. Sounds like a toroidal field claim that somebody's perpetuated out into the ether, and so far this is the only thing he's openly mocked by laughing at it. Toroidal donut-shaped Earth. Yeah, we've got ether believers who think that the entire world is some counterpoint space in a toroidal field. It's utter nonsense and only worthy of stereotype and mocking of flat earthers who work really hard to show our Earth's measured flat.
But I hope
Didn't
you
Brenda
never
claim
have...
donut too?
Yeah, so I was going to say, isn't that Brenda's claim, Neil?
That's one individual who has said Earth is a donut or something like that.
No, she said that the hole in the donut is space-time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Joker got it
the
down, boy.
donut is space-time. I want Brian to expand on something to do that yesterday, especially as I really annoyed him. So just for the humorous effect of, I heard 1 is the most important number, and as soon as I heard Brian say it, I'm like, 1 is the loneliest. I thought I can't help sing that at the end of the outro, and I did so as I was pressing buttons and not really listening to what Brian was saying. And he's like, you cut me off 4 seconds before the most important point to sing a song. Why do you mock
Yeah,
me?
and you got it wrong. You said 9 is the most important number.
Doesn't
not
matter.
1.
Yeah.
Wow, way to...
That'll have annoyed him more.
Perhaps. But just for the record, my intention was in absolutely no way to undermine Brian's point. You know, don't get me wrong, I have had my tete-a-tetes with Brian about numerology and my offering whether or not I think it's valid in certain circumstances, but that wasn't what I was trying to achieve, right? Nevertheless, that's a bit of a segue from what I would hope Brian will educate us in, and that's the something that's seen really obvious. I told this to my wife yesterday, right? So we were watching the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, and right at the end, it showed some of the interdimensional animations, a bit like this guy. Let's just transition away from the screen, it's a bit boring. And what it showed is your typical diagram of a well with a planet in it. And I took her through what was actually being shown. And I'm like, well, here's an X and a Y axis. And they're giving you your length and breadth, even though it's 2-dimensional because it's on a screen. You can infer that it has 3-dimensionality by the way that it's been, animated, right? She's like, yeah, okay, I see those 2 dimensions. I'm like, well, what's this then? This well bit with the planet in it? She's like, well, that's the time dimension. I'm like, okay, so where's the up and down dimension then? And she scratches her head and it's like, well, there doesn't seem to be one, but they can't draw that. You can't draw the time. You can't draw the up and down dimension and the time dimension when they're trying to visually represent the time dimension. I'm like, yeah, it's on every single diagram, but all of the diagrams just show a ball in a well, a ball floating in a well with lattice work making the well up. Well, that's only even if you accept that it's on a 2-dimensional screen, a 3-dimensional representation of whatever they're drawing. A cool picture of a ball not quite falling down a hole, right? But that's still 3-dimensional. Well, a couple of days ago, Brian pointed something out that seems so bloody obvious now, that's what Einstein has effectively done. He's incorporated in a description of the 4th dimension into an already existing 3rd dimension. Now, when we've gone through the process that they will take you by regression to a 2-dimensional object, so you can, as a piece of paper drawing man, think about how you'd be in a 3rd dimension and how difficult that would be for you 2-dimensionally to do, and likewise conceptualizing the 4th dimension that doesn't exist as a mere 3-dimensional entity is hard and nay impossible because it doesn't exist, but you can conceptualize it now that you've had the regression to 2-dimensionality and scaled it up once. Well, you can follow that process through all the way up to 10 dimensions, as we have done on a couple of shows, right? Well, in so doing, the Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian aspect of how they give us these quasi-interdimensional travel through films like Spider-Man and various other interdimensional movies and propaganda is just to take what is essentially just length, breadth, and depth, change one of them to time, and blag that your 3D representation on a 2D screen gives you a window to a conceptualization of a 4th dimension that doesn't exist. Now, in that very long path that I've just taken you in, and that was a summary I might add, right? You can then have what is length, breadth, and depth? No, what is shown is length, breadth, and time, that 4th dimension. Obviously, we can't show it you any other way, but now you do understand fully that we have a 4th dimension. Make sense? Yes, Nathan, we all paid close attention. Well, I'm glad you did. It was worth the waffle, clearly. Right, I'm going to do a plug. If no one else is going to respond to my gravitational waffle about dimensions. It's the main problem with all the movies that I've watched recently. They all seem to incorporate some sort of interdimensionality into their plot. And it just gets tiresome when you know that it's complete garbage and nonsense that's come from Einstein and expanded on in books like A Brief History of Time. You're like, this is nonsense. And
yeah, but it makes excellent movies, though.
I don't think it does. You guys like Interstellar, and I'm like, it's a dimension-based plot that just is eradicated by what we do here. Therefore, I find it really difficult to suspend disbelief. Time travel's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the imagination part. Come on, you could time travel. What about what do you call it? That show we watched with Doc Brown, Back to the Future.
So
Those are great movies. That's the whole thing. That's what it's made for, Nathan. Fantasy.
Maybe, but when I'm on the show quite literally telling a fundamentalist zealot that you can't travel time, you know, there is no time dimension to walk along. You can't walk on time. You can't rewind and fast forward time. You can't do any of the things that conceptually are shown as a well. Well, you can walk along that dimension if you were to conceptualize your 2D screen, 3D rendered image with a well with a ball above it. Or even better still, when they drag out a piece of rubber and just drop a ball in it. Go, there you go, there's time. No, you've replaced depth when you drop something into a rubber piece of material and say that that's space-time. Here's your conception of space-time. But you can physically walk along that rubber to the middle of the time dimension that they're saying is conceptually illustrated when they stretch a bit of rubber and throw a heavy ball in the middle. So you can really easily understand how I can say that isn't travelling through time, though, is it? I can just walk along the rubber to the bottom of where the ball is. No, that would be like you travelling along a geodesic, I hear you cry. No, you can't travel on geodesics. Well, if you can rewind to find me yelling that at a fundy, how can I suspend disbelief about Michael J. Fox? Come on, man. I can't do it. You might be able to. But you with your flat earth belief and that, you know, maybe you can suspend disbelief because you're still yearning for the globe that you haven't quite proven yet.
Nathan, that's the whole point. It makes great movies, fantasy. Without the heliocentric model, or not model, without all of this nonsense, you're going to get boring movies.
Don't agree.
Not necessary. And this is the thing. You don't have to destroy all your time travel stuff. It's only where you incorporate it as an Einsteinian methodology where time is actually part of the component of the fabric of space.
The Matrix isn't globe related at all. Matrix is quantum mechanics based. Simulacra and simulation is a derivation in fantasy of the principles we have scientifically validated in quantum mechanics. We talk about it when we talk about what would a tree sound like in a woods at the edge of the rendered reality if no one was there. There is no tree is the answer. Why do we come to that conclusion? Because without a knower and information to exist, there is nothing in physical reality existing. Well, that can be extrapolated out into books like Simulacra and Simulation, heavily influencing things like The Matrix, which is fantastic fantasy. You're telling me we need a globe?
I don't agree with that. The tree falling in the woods is no sound. Come on.
Well, there is no tree.
Sound.
No, you're talking about a tree. You're missing the point.
Oh, God.
You're missing the point. Your tree in your woods is a pre-existing tree that's got books written about it and people living near it and will walk past it next week. That's not the tree we're talking about.
Back to the time travel thing. How do you travel something without orthogonality?
You don't. But you can travel on a path that has 3 dimensions to it. And if you can substitute one of those dimensions for a time dimension and claim that you're just too stupid to conceptualize a dimension beyond your physical experience, therefore this dimension of down in replacement of the x-axis or whichever one it's replacing in their diagram is a time dimension, you dumbo, that you just couldn't conceptualize it till I showed you this little bent lattice work with a ball dangling in it. Now you understand the 4th dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time that we can travel, John. Do I need to explain how you would be if you were a 2-dimensional piece of paper?
So down is the direction of time.
Yes. You can call it a geodesic, and then I can explain what that was if you're understanding it a bit too well. I can confuse you with geodesics.
So you try
down
to make...
requires a plane of
Oh, I didn't see where you were going. I love it. What was that? I need a planar reference. You're right, I do, you know. In fact, when Einstein's describing the whole of the known universe, he describes it as a planar reference too, doesn't he? You're going to need a flat earth for this space-time. Genius. Go on, Adam.
I'm still trying to save. See, like I said, it's only if you conceptualize time as a component of space, as in matter, up, down, left, right, that it is an effector, that it destroys your fantasy world. So, see, I won't watch stuff like Interstellar and, like I said, potatoes in space and all that kind of nonsense, because it is just in that globe lie. But I still enjoy Star Wars, Doctor Who. They go to planets and they use time travel and stuff. But I'm not offended with any Einsteinian notions. And I'm happy with things like H.G. Wells as time travel. He's not invoking this combination mathematics where time becomes a component of an effector of matter. Time travel never used to be like that. Didn't have to be. It's only in this model that time is an excuse for gravity, isn't it? Remember, it's that warping that's that's what's perverting a good bit of fantasy for you.
Yeah,
but I agree with, like I say, potatoes in space and Interstellars and Sandra Bullock one and all those that are literally just pretty CGI set in the fake paradigm. I don't enjoy them.
With that, I'm going to do a little plug. So tomorrow I'm going to be appearing on the Politics server. So if you are a member of Discord Politics server already, you can join that event. It's going to take place maybe an hour or so after the normal live stream. So tomorrow being Friday, if you are watching this live, be here or be sphere in the Discord Politics server. I think it's an event where you do have to raise your hand and stuff. So hopefully it'll be reasonably well ordered. But yeah, so join me there and I'll answer any questions that you have to answer. Or ask. So you typically get the opportunity to ask questions in our usual Discord server, but for whatever reason we've expanded out so we can influence people in other servers. So join us there if you want to do so. If you are already a member of the Discord Politics server, then you'll see me there tomorrow. But with that, I'm going to say another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned. There will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!